like Jeremy Hambley is $300,000 in debt. That's almost, I mean, it's partially because he made the dumb decision of financing a bunch of his coffee business shit on his credit card, apparently, which is so fucking stupid. But there's that. And then, just in general, all of the Chuds views are down, including even Nerdrotic, who just hit 1 million subs last year. And he just seemed like he was, the sky was the limit. Well, apparently he reached the sky, which was the limit. And, and now he's on his way back down in view count. And then I haven't looked at Critical Drinker, but like, then there was of course the RIP averse, as I'm going to call it now.
No.
DOA averse. And, it's just not looking good for these guys, which is weird because like they won. You know what I mean? All of this culture war shit they've been doing for years. They achieved the goal that they almost certainly were trying to achieve, at least the first part of it, which is get him into power again, because we fucked it up last time. But now, of course, the next step is maintain it. But I think that's going to be the much harder step for them. And this Daily Wire thing is, I think, partially connected to that overall thing, but I think it's got its own specific catalysts going on as well. So we're going to talk about that.
Please.
Yeah, so I definitely don't want to, I didn't have a full understanding of, I don't know, we'll talk about this, but like, I don't want anybody to get too hyped about this and think that, oh, we won or that our content's going to be the dominant one or something, because that's not necessarily the case at all.
They have the money and the resources to course correct. It's just whether they can.
Yeah. Well, also, I think that, let's just look at the story first before we get too into it and tell everybody what's going on. Of course, I have to reopen all these windows because I fucking had to turn off my computer. 1 second. The one day that I decided to get prepared before the stream, like I got all the windows open, and then I got to restart, and now I got to, Okay, here we go. So, looking at, well, there's a rumor, okay, and it's from a guy named Ian Carroll, and it's based on the fact that in the last couple weeks ago now, Jeremy Boring, who was one of the co-owners of Daily Wire, along with Ben Shapiro, and then I think the guy's name is Wilk, he was unceremoniously reduced in his position from president, and as he's called himself, God King of Daily Wire, he's just kind of in charge of some creative stuff now, which is a weird thing. And then you see Ben Shapiro and others going around on news shows and stuff telling Megyn Kelly or whoever that this is because he's working on this giant Pendragon cycle series that I know Bob wants to talk about, and that he's just going to be too focused on that and all this giant creative output that we're doing. It's it's just that's his job. He can't be the president of the growing Daily Wire anymore. So they're completely, they're selling it as that this is a positive thing or a necessary thing, that it has nothing to do with, it's not a punitive, action or anything like that. But then there are lots of reports otherwise. So, let's see. So on March 18th, Daily Wire and Boring announced he was stepping down. In a press release, Boring said, "When Ben, Caleb, and I founded the Daily Wire in 2015, we set out to build an institution. I'm enormously proud of our team and of our many battles and of the successes we've achieved together over the last decade. And we're just getting started. To get us to the heights we know we can achieve, we have brought in a world-class executive team." So that's the kind of thing, honestly, that, like, if you were doing great, I don't think anybody would feel the need to bring in an executive team to replace you, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's confident that we'll thrive and blah 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 blah. But it's looking like, at least based on some rumors. Actually, I have the clip of that Carroll guy's video.
Yeah, Ian Carroll is a Matt Walsh stan.
Okay.
So we got just consider that when you play his video. But he
he gives off no indication of where he's at politically in this. At least
at the very end. At the very end, he does.
Okay, I see.
Fire is going bankrupt, allegedly, and Jeremy Boring is officially out as CEO. That's right. The self-proclaimed God King of the Daily Wire is at the heart of so many scandals. And yes, he is self-described as the God King. And the email just went out today internally that he is stepping down, and now Axios is covering the story. It has not yet broken, as far as I'm aware, that private equity is moving in and looking to buy up the Daily Wire. I heard, rumor mill, that Silver Lake Capital is looking to buy them up. And Silver Lake, you guys might want to watch this video before you think too hard about it, Because there's a lot that is not in the public square right now. We're about to get into stuff like canceled credit cards, lying to the press, trying to trick Tim Pool. As far as I can tell from my sources, even people inside of the Daily Wire only know part.
See, that's the thing, and we're going to look at that on Wednesday on the Shillcast, because yeah, that's going to be too juicy if that movie doesn't even get to come out. I mean, it honestly is kind of, it might be kind of a cross purposes. I don't know, because what's his name? I mean, what's her name? Brett Cooper left the Daily Wire. She's the star of that thing.
My understanding was they scrapped it.
What's that?
My understanding of it was that they scrapped it. Maybe I'm a bit.
Okay, well then.
Yeah,
it was a race between them and Disney, because the reason Disney is doing all their live action remakes is to maintain the IP.
Yeah,
because a lot of these things become public. These characters become public domain in a few years. So I think Daily Wire was hoping they could get a Snow White movie out first, and then they would have the IP rights.
They probably shouldn't have treated Brett Cooper like shit.
I'm not sure, because Snow White, obviously, the character in the original story's been in the public domain. Yeah.
So I mean, the specific depiction that Disney's specific depiction of Snow White will be public domain in, I think, 2032. So they have to make new depictions of her.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
So we'll definitely see of the dwarves being horror monsters, right? Because that's what happens when these things go.
Yeah, there'll be a horror Snow White.
There will be a horror,
and red.
But there's some indication that the reason Brett Cooper left is because she had beef with Jeremy Boring specifically.
Right. Lots of that. Lots of rumors of people. Lots of people with beef with Jeremy, including Ben Shapiro. And these guys were fucking best friends. They started this Daily Wire thing in 2015 after Boring was fired from, I forget the name of the entertainment group or whatever. And Ben Shapiro left because his buddy got fired. So they left together essentially and started Daily Wire. And now it seems like they are at odds. So, I mean, honestly, it does seem like Jeremy Boring's ego got a little bit in the way, or at least his desperate need to, he's a theater guy from way back.
They both are.
Of course. And then, so of course, he gets a media company off the ground, and he gets like a little streaming platform that, from what I can tell, was doing okay. They had, I think, 890,000 subscribers. But then, as Bob will talk about, I'm sure that this other thing is in the whole other ordeal, the Pendragon cycle.
Well, thinking if you think about traditional media was always very expensive to get off the ground.
Yes,
and obviously new media isn't. But in order to maintain finances, traditional media relies on the millions and millions that advertising brings in.
Mm-hmm.
Which is something that new media just doesn't have, no matter how many ad reads they do.
Well,
and
so
they
I have
seem to
here
do a lot.
who owns the Daily Wire. Who, how did they get off the ground? Who's got an investment in it, right? And that, but like, I just want to point this fact out. Asmongold, right? The guy who casually picks roaches off of himself without, like, it happens all the time, right? The guy that has a blood wall by his bed where he wakes up and like rubs his gums blood onto the wall, and probably, doesn't shower but like a couple times a month or something. That guy has 100 times the views on many of his videos that Daily Wire content has. And that's why. Yeah. That's the problem. That's like why I say don't get too excited about, like, oh, chuds aren't watching content. No, they're watching content. It's just that they only wanted the pseudo-intellectual buttoned up guys long enough to get into power. And now they just want to relax and watch a fucking dirty, scabby guy, scratch his ass and go, based, based, when he's watching Trump videos. So,
yeah,
they still have their
let this guy keep cooking here, because he's got some juicy tea.
Yeah.
Part of the story, and they're all kind of getting played against each other. It's a whole mess. And the most important part of this mess is that the Daily Wire has a long history of treating their employees like shit. And so I've had numerous sources inside the Daily Wire for quite some time because everyone hates them, even their own people. That's not to mention the numerous sources outside of the Daily Wire that did not take the NDA money on the way out. Like, I had people literally in my comments on Instagram offering to give me dirt on the Daily Wire because they hated the Daily Wire so much. It's out of control. And it all centers around the God King and his fucking massive ego. and his lifelong desire to be a famous actor and make it in Hollywood, which he failed at originally years and years and years ago. And so once the Daily Wire was off the ground, he just couldn't help but try to turn the Daily Wire into a Hollywood movie studio and produce the Pendragon series. Note that this article is from 2023, and he said that he had dreamt of bringing this book to the screen for 25 years. It was due to stream exclusively on Daily Wire Plus in 2024. Why didn't that happen? That's a good question. And that leads to us talking about all the Daily Wire's employees' credit cards getting frozen, allegedly.
Woof.
Yeah, I mean, this guy seems pretty confident. Of course, he's a Matt Walsh stan, so, you know, I don't trust anything he says, really. But,
well, again, and it's boring, I know, but to talk about the finances, how many views, how many subscribers does Daily Wire Plus have?
I don't know.
Because
check it out.
They're so fine. That's really, apart from the money that we don't know about, which is sort of what I'm alluding to.
Right.
If they were running like a normal TV company, like we know that the streaming companies don't make a huge amount of money and they hemorrhage it. If the Daily Wire needs subscribers, otherwise spending any money on a project like this, which is going to cost millions, were they never going to sell it to traditional?
So that's
TV,
the thing.
or?
So it seems like this is what makes me think this is all true, because a few months ago, Jeremy Boring, like the story leaked that they were thinking about, that they were talking about shopping it to a larger network like Fox, and Jeremy Boring is suddenly doing an interview where he's like, "Oh yeah, you know, I mean, I kind of pictured us maybe being," so it seemed like he was fishing for someone to consider buying them to bail them out, basically.
I mean, geez, if it went on Disney Plus, that would be quite.
Would
be quite funny.
So, all right. So, just a little bit of history on the Daily Wire here before we go on any further, so we can fully get context. Company is owned by Bent Key Ventures LLC. In 2015, Boring, Shapiro, and Caleb Robinson and Ferris Wilkes started the Daily Wire with an initial investment by Wilkes. According to the company site, Shapiro and Boring came up with the idea after Boring was fired from his job. Shapiro then quit. So Wilkes is who put up the initial investment, owns it along with co-founders Boring, Shapiro, and Robinson. They all together own Bent Key. The company was previously named Forward Publishing. But let's see. So the Daily Wire had surpassed $100 million in 2022 in revenue for the first time. But you got to remember, revenue is not profit.
Right.
They were also, you got to think that like Matt Walsh, all these guys that are like, they're, you know, independently, they're super popular on the right? Like they have big followings, and that's kind of the problem, because that's what reason does fucking Brett Cooper have to stay at the Daily Wire whenever she got so popular so quick that, you know, it's kind of holding her back to be there. Now she's doing her own thing and it's already blowing up.
Well, also, we've seen what the Daily Wire's, some of their editorial mandates versus the audience they have cultivated don't always mesh up. We saw that with the Luigi Mangione shooting.
The real stuff has really been kind of, you know, look, you got a lot of Nazis on the right these days, guys, and Nazis aren't going to be cool with that.
Well, except that there is a contingent of Zionist, for lack of a better term, Nazis who ascribe to end times theology and want Israel to exist and to be violent and powerful so that they can fulfill certain imaginary biblical prophecies that.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah.
And there's the contingent of Nazis who believe that Israel's a good thing if all Jews go there.
Right.
Yeah. They want to kick the Jews out of their country and send them to one place. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah. It's all good. I'm trying to find.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
And I know it's the boring thing, but I'm really interested in like seeing what the books look like for a company like the Daily Wire, which only operates really in America.
Right.
It has no presence internationally.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I'm convinced that Jeremy Boring's passion project is what sunk the company.
Yeah,
I think, because that TV show looks to be ridiculously expensive.
Oops.
And I think the video we were just watching, I think that guy, Ian Carroll, reports that the Pendragon Cycle TV show is $50 million over budget. I don't know where he's getting that number from, but he
Right.
said,
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of
alleges
like,
that.
I don't want to hang the whole show on that guy. But
Yeah.
we'll go back to him.
But you don't have to know the exact number. If you just, like last night, I watched all of the behind the scenes production journal videos that Jeremy Boring made about the show. And it looks like, from a behind the scenes perspective, like they put real work and
Like they're trying to
real
do a
money
Game of Thrones type thing
into the
and
production design.
And
What?
if you go back and you look at a series like Game of Thrones, which was still a huge financial risk for HBO, if it had failed,
yeah.
it would have been disastrous. The
Yeah.
actual first series of that is pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like several spots in the first season where it's like, oh, a battle's about to happen, cut away, and then you cut back and the battle's over.
Yeah.
I mean,
this show has battle scenes in it. Pretty big ones based on the BTS I looked at. And like the costume designs are really intricate, and they invented a language to be spoken by the one of the groups of people in this story is refugee Atlanteans. So they invented an Atlantean language. It's a huge amount of money they sunk into this thing, and it's being run by the guy that made Lady Ballers. So they don't have so my point was, I think they don't have a subscriber base large enough to pay for it, and they don't anticipate getting enough subscriptions from the show to justify the cost of it. So Boring is kind of on the hook for all of this.
Right. And normally what you would do, or what a production company would do, is shop it around to another distributor.
Yeah, which might still happen.
It might still happen. The problem is, given his antagonistic relationship with traditional media establishments, they're either not going to want to give him the time of day, or they're going to want to take him to the cleaners.
Well, so if it's possible that they had funding pulled too. I don't know.
That's possible too, because there's a lot of their financiers that we don't have information on.
We have some. Dan and Ferris Wilkes, two brothers, basically Koch brother clones.
Sure.
Who seeded $4.7 million. They're billionaire petroleum industry guys.
Of course they are.
Over the next decade, the endeavor was wildly successful, mostly relying on profits to fuel its growth. Till 2023, Axios reported that the Daily Wire raised an undisclosed round of capital at a valuation north of $1 billion with a few surprising new investors. One investor, Jason Kane.
Sorry, just imagine that. They were doing well, but then they got a funding of $1 billion.
Mm-hmm. And now they're it seems like they're cutting off credit cards and shit. Yeah. Something happened, right? There's a big story behind this that we only see like the tip of.
So you have two things. You have cash, money was spent, and you also have your upkeep costs, and maybe even things like contracts that they ended up that were valued at a certain amount for like advertising and stuff, that the advertiser didn't see what they wanted out of it, and so those weren't renewed, or there weren't bonuses paid, and so they overspent, and their revenue is not what they expected.
Plus, they haven't got the option of going public, because then they'd have to disclose their finances, so they'll never be publicly traded, like traditional media.
Right.
So Jason Kam is the managing editor at Thiel Capital, Peter Thiel. The guy that basically has the same politics as Elon Musk. And
I saw him the other day, and maybe you can bring up a picture later, but he's starting to look like the villain from X-Men 2.
Oh.
Stryker's son.
Oh God.
Yeah. Oh wow, yeah. I saw. I'd seen a clip of him from not too long ago, but I could see what you're saying. Yeah. So yeah, this guy was a managing director at Thiel Capital. Also serves on the board of directors for Thiel Foundation, young global leader at the World Economic Forum. So what we've got here is literally the people who have essentially gained power now. No, Peter Thiel isn't officially in power, but he's, you know, he and Musk have been buddies for a long time. They have essentially the same worldview.
And
you know,
like
I was learning about the history of Peter Thiel and Musk's and like the Nazis and their family and shit the other day. It's kind of wacky.
well,
JD Vance is his boy too.
Right. JD Vance has been in his orbit for a long time and was his booster, because JD Vance has only been a senator for like a term.
But look who else was involved, because another investor was undisclosed 2023. Was in 2023 in the funding round was Susan Panuccio. Was a longtime CFO of News Corp. Anybody know who that is?
That's Rupert Murdoch's outfit. That's Fox News and
That owns the
Sky
Times,
News in
Wall
the
Street
UK.
Journal, New York Post.
Literally the basis for the villains in Tomorrow Never Dies.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, and also what you call it?
Underrated Bond movie.
Show that just ended. God damn it, I forget the name of it.
Oh, I want to say Obsession, but it's
Succession. Yeah.
Succession. Yeah.
Other investors in an undisclosed 2023 funding round included previous investors in company leadership, the likes of Dan Wilkes, Jeremy Boring, blah, 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 Tara Murphy.
They put their own money in.
Wire brands itself as a bastion of new media, the potential influence of investors like Thiel Capital and News Corp raises important questions. No, they've always been just like, to think that these guys are like independent or some kind of alternative to Fox News or whatever, when it's pretty clear you just kind of watch one and then watch the other one, whatever topic they're talking about, they're going to be saying essentially the same thing.
Right.
You know, they might be a little less professional about it than Fox News is whenever they're doing their genocide propaganda and stuff like that. But yeah, there's that. That's where they owned them. And I mean, so from what I understand, they did not get like any good ratings for presidential coverage, like election coverage. They didn't even really try that hard to cover it. So I guess maybe I'm thinking maybe something like that combined with lots of other things is what has if there was funding pulled or whatever happened, then there was some decisions made based on that. They've just been performing really weakly. You know, which is considering they have somebody like they have Matt Walsh, they have I guess Ben Shapiro. I don't know. Are they popular? I think Matt Walsh is, right? Like
Matt Walsh is popular. I think Ben Shapiro is still somewhat popular. Jordan Peterson is still somewhat popular.
Right, they have the Petersons too. Fucking Ben Shapiro though, I think has lost quite a bit of respect from the right for the same reason as we were just talking about. A lot of people don't like the whole, you know, pro-Israel thing.
And I mean, there's always been a lot of
they don't like the he's Jewish thing.
Yeah,
right.
That's the other thing is
and
that
there's something to prove that in a second.
There's always been a strong contingent of people on the right who don't like Shapiro because he's Jewish.
Yeah,
I mean that was the whole Candace Owens thing. The bickering between those two was because she is a virulent anti-Semite and he's Jewish.
Yeah, and I think this really just drives home the point that so-called new media all over the internet, for the most part, is not new media. It's the same corporate backers, even on the so-called left, like the liberal channel. Most of the liberal channels in the U.S. that you see have the same kind of money backing them up. So, like the billionaires have colonized new media as effectively as they've colonized traditional media, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, because if there's money in it, they want a piece of it.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was just looking at the final grosses for something like Am I Racist, which was Matt Walsh's big thing, and it only made 12 million. And it never released internationally. So
no, I mean it was a big gamble for them. I found an article about that essentially that could be something that played into it, right? Because they framed that as a success, but you know that was the first time that they released a movie wide in theaters.
And let's be honest, that is profitable because it probably cost nothing to make. But still, only 12 million. People didn't go out and see it.
So, 1 second, let me reshare this with audio. Got what Ben Shapiro says here about it, and something tells me, you know, when he starts talking about Boring and the Pendragon cycle and stuff like that, it just, I don't know, his tone is a little terse.
Who is your partner in founding the Daily Wire, is no longer co-CEO along with Caleb, who was his, co-CEO for years. And now he's going to be doing something else. So there's all sorts of chatter about this online, Ben. People's tongues are wagging. People who used to work for the Daily Wire suggesting this was a terrible implosion and that Jeremy was impossible to work for, etc. What is the truth?
I mean, the truth is that Jeremy stepped down to pursue things like Pendragon, which is the single biggest, I think, entertainment offering ever put forward on the right side of the aisle, like ever by a long stretch. People are going to be
It's like a
blown
Game
away
of
when
Thrones series that you guys are
it's unbelievable.
producing
It's
right now.
unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, it's like high fantasy, Arthurian legend, 7 episodes at very high cost. I mean, it is a major, massive project, and he has to go and he has to edit that. We have to figure out exactly how we're going to market that. We have other creative projects that Jeremy is going to work on. And Jeremy,
Why would you not have already figured out how you're going to market this if you're spending that kind of money on it? That's crazy, right? Like,
Yeah.
You shouldn't be leaving nothing to chance if you're putting that kind of cost into it.
Well, because they didn't. Probably because the finances of their business are not one where you are hiring PR people and marketing people who understand how to do traditional media marketing and advertising. That's not the company's wheelhouse. It's the wrong tool for the job.
True.
And those people cost money, and not just because it's not like a one-time charge either. You have to keep paying them.
Right. His eyebrows have, but that's so far that's it.
Weirdly, and this is something that was pointed out on the majority report, he's got a weird little bit of dark hair just there coming through.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
And
He's trying.
it's not a good look. It because they thought maybe it was just something on the screen, but as you watch it, that bit's getting darker.
Brother, you gotta shave that.
He knows he looks like a boy.
The Charlie Chaplin mustache is so last century, man.
Jeremy wants to work on and that Jeremy is involved with. And frankly, the day-to-day management of a very large and growing company was not, I think, in his view, conciliant with that mission, which is for him to do more creative projects, to do more on the entertainment side. And frankly, I think for Jeremy, that's where a lot of his heart is as well. And so he wanted to put more focus in that as we mature as a company. As far as all of these sort of bizarre rumors that we're in serious trouble. Oh no, everything is bullshit. I mean, as somebody who looks at the balance sheet, I can tell you that is certainly not the case. And we are healthy, we are growing, we are thriving, and we have extremely big moves that we are looking forward to making this year.
Well, there you go, from the mouth of babes.
Mouth of noted liar and huckster and dick peel vendor.
They're not falling for it anyway. The audience is not falling for it. These are all, presumably, most of them conservative folks.
Oh, geez.
They're not believing it one bit. They're like, Candace Owens, said y'all were terrible. It's true. Ben, how far are you falling? Shapiro's a rabid Zionist. Lost me a long time ago. Christ is king.
There it is.
Well, it's the one thing we've always said about the right, the way they stick together. And as soon as they stop sticking together and start firing people for whatever reason, regardless of how much of a weird fascist Candace Owens is, people loved her because of that reason. So to get rid of her, you've got to choose a side.
Yeah, it's notable too that it's seems to be the women that they have the most problem with. And
weird how that works.
You had a perfectly good Quisling in Candace Owens, and you ruined it. And then there was was Crowder. There was a whole negotiation with Crowder to have him on, right?
Yeah.
From memory, it was like they didn't want to let him be as racist as he wanted to be, basically.
Right.
Part of first of all, there was Crowder and his fucking, the hubris of being like $50 million a year. That's ridiculous. I'm way worth way more than that.
Slave wages. That's what he called it.
That's what he called it. Yeah.
They're probably counting themselves lucky they didn't hire him at that price.
Oh yeah, they would be.
They would not. I mean, if that's the kind of contracts they're offering to people like Matt Walsh and stuff, though, then it kind of gives you an insight into where a lot of their money is going.
For that price, they could hire like 50 million Michael Knowles.
Yeah. Depends on I don't know. I thought I had a joke there and I don't.
But their fundamental problem is they can't decide if they want to be a news commentary company or an entertainment production company.
I think that's why Jeremy Boring has been reduced from. I think we're going to see them go more towards back towards what they originally were. I think whoever decided is making the decisions now is like, this was a mistake to put so much into, a cartoon that's going to be the anti-woke Simpsons, and it turns out to get queer people love it and they're making fun of us for it, and then just the movies and stuff like that they. If you look at the movie output of the Daily Wire, you can see that there's a shift that happens. And it seems like, Jeremy Boring got tired of making stuff like Shut In and these other movies that really were only tangentially conservative. You know what I mean? There was like the school shooting one, I guess. But
they didn't even make that.
They bought that one.
They bought that one and distributed it. And it was like, it hits every woke trope that they complain about.
Yeah. Then there's the Gina Carano movie, the Frontier movie or whatever, that made $300. And it was like, she's literally playing a fucking Mary Sue in it. Yeah,
their audience wants highly politicized, look how evil the left are content. They can't make that because that would be awful.
And that's why I think that there's some of this failure going on with the Chud anti-fans, is kind of people that we typically cover around here, because they have radicalized the audience. That's what they needed to get people into politically activated, right? Was to kind of get them, like, to sneak it up on them. And now that they've been made aware that, oh yeah, well, I'm MAGA now, you know what I mean? Even though they started off just not liking woke stuff in their shows or whatever. Right. Now that these people don't want that kind of content, they probably feel condescended to, because they can see right through it now. So they're like, no, I just want to watch the guy that's going to say the Nazi talking points.
Well, it's the boy who cried woke.
Right.
I mean, that parable is a perfect illustration. They called everything woke, and now their audience doesn't want to hear them talk positive about anything, doesn't want to see them make anything, because everything is woke.
Right.
Yeah, and now the dog has caught the car, and it doesn't know what to do with it. They won this battle, this culture war battle. Theoretically, they're at the top of the pyramid now. The culture theoretically has shifted in favor of them, and they can't handle it. They don't know what they're supposed to do now.
Well, the issue is they see themselves as the top of the pyramid, the influencers, the people who spread the word, but they are boots on the ground. They're not in charge of anything. They're paid spokespeople. They're grunts. And like almost any military in history, what happens when you win the war to your soldiers? Who fucking cares? Historically, the war's over. Oh, what happens to the troops on the ground? That's their problem. We got ours. So now their financiers don't care because they don't need them anymore.
Yep. And who knows how they're going to try and reach people like Asmongold if they haven't already. Like there has to be some kind of billionaire plot to get these guys under their thumb. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, that's just Joe Rogan, right? Like and we know that Joe Rogan has been influenced by these people because it came out that him and his producers effectively scuttled an interview with Kamala Harris during the election.
Yep. But I mean, he's been seeing some decreased views as well.
You're right.
And so, I mean, we really are essentially in what you might refer to as, I don't know, there's got to be a word for it. Like,
The Crawling Chaos writes, Asmongold does not give a shit. Problem is that his viewers haven't realized that. I disagree somewhat. His viewers, a lot of his viewers, because I know some people who watch him because they're big into WoW, and he was a WoW streamer. And they watch him because he doesn't give a shit. They don't watch him because they like what he has to say. They watch him because they like watching him get mad and be a gross moron. He's as much an influencer as he is a very sad, disgusting clown.
They like him because he is them.
Yeah.
Because there's, you know, a lot of these people are sad, fucking disgusting morons. They don't want to fucking change. They don't want to, you know, work on themselves to become less antisocial. So they go there. Oh, there's this guy. This is also part of that whole, you know, hustle mindset. They think that this, you know, the same reason that people support Musk or back billionaires, because they see themselves as being able to achieve that too somehow. And they feel like if they don't support that, then that cuts them off from the possibility of it or whatever. You know, there's some of that going on. Weird mentality, weird psychology of that shit. And they see Asmongold as like, well, he's just a guy playing games in his room in a shitty t-shirt that's got blood on his wall from his gums, like me. You know? Yeah, audience. I'd say he's audience captured. I remember when he was saying some stuff that wasn't quite as yikesy, and he even apologized for it at first. And then pretty quickly you started to see him kind of, you know, more and more saying shit that became really yikesy. And I think that was just, he kind of tested the waters and realized, oh wait, there's not actually a consequence for me saying this.
No, he
shit.
can say whatever he wants. Yeah.
You know? Exactly. Apathy. That's the thing. They have fucking, that's what this whole anti-woke thing has always been, is apathy, or at least it appears like apathy. That's what they're selling it as when it's actually active malice.
Right.
You know? If you think, oh man, I don't like all that woke stuff. It's like, you feel like you're being neutral on something. If you don't know any better, you think you're being neutral. When
you're not only that, you're being told you're being neutral.
Trump is a E. coli feces addict. I'm not joking. Trump guzzles the feces of bacteria. He loves it, of toxic E. coli bacteria. Elon Musk is an addict. He worships E. coli feces.
Forced adversity.